Melissa over there to the far left. We've got Dennis, who just moved to Port St. Lucie, and they've still got some boxes to unpack, but they're safe and sound. We've got, I always see Megan, and it always throws me out. It's Mary Grimmy. And is Donald with you today?
He seems to be under the weather today.
Well, tell him we send big hugs. Ed Johnson is up from Florence, South Carolina. He was with me in 1970. He and his two sisters and their family when I was at my first congregation in Saugus. Margarita over there. Maureen from near Jackson West. Pat, her Viking sister, who is in, excuse me, Forest Hills. Yes, we got Ray over there, who's causing more mischief than ever. He's up in Port Washington. Is that right? Fort Washington.
Washington Heights.
Washington Heights. We got Rick and Judy over there. We've got Nick, who I'll speak to in a minute. Rowena has made it in.
Yeah.
How you doing, Rowena?
Happy New Year, Rowena.
I'm feeding dogs at the moment.
Right. Happy New Year. It's isn't it Rosh Hashanah soon?
Soon, yes.
All right.
Yes. I decided to become Unitarian in protest.
Serge Cruz is in a new apartment as well. He is shaved. Serge, you have no hair.
Nope, all gone. I'm aerodynamic now.
And then we've got Oscar, who has stuck his finger through a light bulb. Yes, Oscar, right. Karen, who has finished, I guess now 2 weeks at FIU, where she teaches business and was a dean. Cecilia is there. Cecilia, I sent you an absolutely funny text message, although I'm not sure you're going to think it was funny. Kim is from up on the border of Wisconsin and Illinois. She was in school with me, and you know who was also in school? Kim and I were classmates, but Anderson. Oh, come on. Why am I forgetting? No, Judy Anderson? Why am I getting Anderson? I'm blanking here. Oh, come on. Somebody help me. Somebody help me. Somebody help me. Anderson.
Joyce?
No. Where's my mem? Oh, come on. I'm blanking. I hate when I do that now. Anyway, she was 2 years ahead of us at Dickett College. Hal and Linda from Joyce Anderson. Yeah. Hal and Linda are here from Port Orange. John Atkins from California. Maria sticks her hands up and says hi, the famous hand. So we're glad to see him. Rory Feeney has made it in from, there he is. Rory Feeney and his family have made it in up beyond, just below Port St. Lucie. Rory had a birthday a few weeks back. And Rory, what grade is your daughter in now? Rory, what grade is your daughter in now?
She just started 6th grade.
What?
Yeah, 6th grade.
6th grade.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's it. It's too much. All right. We want to say hello to everybody today, and I have some greetings announcements here. First of all, I want to thank the board. We're able to get Touchstones again. Touchstones is a magnificent resource. They send out a theme once a month, and with that theme comes all kinds of worship aids. And probably 6 times a year, I'll borrow from their theme and borrow their readings. A lot of the responsive readings we have come from this resource. It is a tremendous aid. It's also very annoying because it deals with themes that I probably wouldn't want to deal with. And so it forces me to deal with stuff personally that I don't like to deal with. Then I annoy you because it annoys me. Like right now is not a good time to talk about harmony. So what's one of the themes up this fall is harmony. So we'll discuss that next time, including a song from Susie Q. I don't know if anybody remember Susie Q's song, Harmony.
No, I remember Susie Q, but.
I remember Susie Q.
Oh, heavens. All right. Secondly, you won't believe how bad I've been with music. All this music we've been using this summer, I put on scraps of paper. And it suddenly dawned on me, this is not a good way to keep music. So I spent the time cataloging all the music we've used So from now on, we've got a list of what we've used and who've used it and where we can go back. Okay, pictures. Let me remind everybody to do pictures. Nick caused me a heart attack. I have not heard from Nick in a couple of weeks. You know, there are a couple of people in every congregation in the world who are very active in keeping things going. Margarita keeps our technology going, and Nick gets us the WhatsApp all the time. I didn't hear from Nick. I assumed that since he lives by himself, he had COVID and was under the bed, and nobody was paying. So I called him. I was really worried. Where is he? Down in New Orleans having a ball. Having a grand time, thank you very much. Don't do this to me. If you want to go someplace, fine, but at least check it already so I know you're okay. Scared the wit out of me. I'm too old for this nonsense. Nick, next time you go to have fun, let me know. Teachers and students. We have a lot of teachers and students in our congregation. Oh my heavens, I left Oscar out. I knew there was one I was missing. We have a ton of public school teachers too, who this week went through hell. So we want to lift them up for all they've been through. You know that the platform they were using, nobody wanted to use. And finally at 2 o'clock in the morning, the board, the County Board of Education decided to drop the platform, and it was a mad scramble. The teachers and students have been under incredible duress, so we offer them up. And I sent a list out, and I'll send a list out again of all the people we have in public education, and we have a whole bunch of people in college education as well. That has been a mess because people got dropped without knowing it because they didn't pay. And the reason they didn't pay their stuff is because their student fees came in late. Their money came in late because it's COVID time and things aren't working on time. So people got added and dropped and added and dropped. And just now the rosters are beginning to, after 2 weeks, beginning to settle in. So it's been quite a ride. So we offer all of those up. John Adkins is out in California, and I asked him yesterday how California was, and he said one word right off the bat: smoky. He said there's smoke everywhere. One last announcement before we begin. I want to remind everybody, I still am working on putting a class together in the fall. I did send out an announcement for a read for somebody to look through some things. I'll send that out again. And hopefully in a couple of weeks, we can start a fall class again. All righty, with that, let's light the memorial candle. And if you have a candle there, remember we send and light a memorial candle for all those who have passed away, both human and animal, in California, Oregon, and Washington. We know about the tremendous loss of life, human life, but we always forget when humans die, a tremendous amount of animals die as well, living things. Things that are absolutely essential for ecology. You know, lizards are important, ants are important, bees are important, birds are important, and all of these die in these fires as well. So for the tremendous loss of life, we light our memorial candle and remember others. All right, Oscar, if you would, in introit.
A quick sound check. Thank you, Ken, please. Can we hear that?
Yes. call to worship by those who wish, if you would read the indented section. Realize and accept that life isn't fair. Know when to keep your mouth shut. Go an entire day without criticizing anyone. Learn from the past. Plan for the future. Live in the present. And everyone, don't sweat the small stuff. It's all small stuff. And a reading, if you will, a morning prayer. Do not be dismayed by the brokenness of the world. All things break. All things can be mended. Not with time, as they say, but with intention. So go. Love intentionally, extravagantly, unconditionally. The broken world waits in darkness for the light. That is you. And now some music by Louis Armstrong.
White spiritual call. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows my sorrow. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Glory, hallelujah. Sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down. Oh, yes, Lord. Sometimes I'm almost to the ground. Oh, yes, Lord. Oh, nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows but Jesus. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Glory,
Ray Roldan was after me about some things with Daniel. And it was surprising to me that the book of Daniel is really in two parts. There's the first 6 chapters, and then there's the chapters that follow that. They're two very, very different pieces of work that an editor put together to make one big work. Talk about the trouble that you find yourself in through no fault of your own. I'm going to read to you from verses from chapter 6 of the book of Daniel. And I think a lot of people can take a look at this and think, you know, stuff like this happens. It really does, on big scales and small scales. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 satraps stationed throughout the whole kingdom. We're talking about the Persian Empire. And over them 3 presidents, including Daniel. Soon Daniel distinguished himself above all the other presidents. So the presidents and satraps tried to find grounds for complaint against Daniel in connection with the kingdom. So the presidents and satraps conspired and came to the king and said the king should establish an ordinance and enforce an interdict that whoever prays to anyone divine or human for 30 days except to you, O king, shall be thrown into a den of lions. Although Daniel knew that the document had been signed, he continued to go to his house, which had its windows in the upper room open toward Jerusalem. And he still got down and prayed 3 times a day to his God. The conspirators came and found Daniel praying and seeking mercy before his God. They then went to the king and they said, Daniel, one of the exiles from Judah, pays no attention to you, O king, or to the interdict you have signed, but he is saying prayers 3 times a day. When the king heard the charge, he was very much distressed. Then the conspirators said, this is the law. You have established the law and it cannot be changed. And then the king gave the command, and Daniel was brought and thrown into the den of lions. Here ends the reading of how somebody good and kind and honest gets caught in a conspiracy that is in one sense groundless. It's based upon jealousy, and is now fearful for his life in the den of lions. A responsive reading for those who wish. If you would please repeat after me the words that are capitalized. There's room for you. There's room for him. There's room for her and room for them. Room for young, room for old, room for shy, room for bold, room for short and room for tall. Tell me how there is room for all. Here is the secret for making rooms great. We refuse to ever make room for hate. And an extraordinarily annoying reading from the book of Ecclesiastes. Like the book of Job, people are not sure how it ever made it into the Hebrew Bible. Again, I saw under the sun, the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor bread to the wise, nor riches to the intelligent, nor favor to the skillful. But time and chance happened to them all. Judy Collins. Grant us, we ask, to speak, to hear, and to learn, so that our fears may be banished, our minds may become enlightened, our faith be increased, our steps directed towards you. Amen. I don't know if any of you noticed that sometimes there'll be a lot of articles out there and they are about the same topic. And one of the articles I've been bumping into a lot lately has been about the fact that fate and random things happen, and we are in great denial about that. That, in fact, when you look at life and you've looked at some of the tragedies in life, nobody foresaw them coming. Some things happen that are absolutely bizarre and nobody saw it coming. I think just about everybody has known where something has been like, where did that come from? Things happen randomly. Things happen without order. And there is chaos, and there are all kinds of chaos theories. For people like you and me who've been brought up to have things in order, this is very, very distracting and annoying. It's unpleasant. Nobody likes to think that time and chance happen. Nobody likes to think that there are things that we can't control. Nobody likes to think that there's fate out there, and nobody likes that. Entropy, she calls it. Yeah, entropy is one way of looking at it. The reality is that we are surrounded by things, and you've heard people say this all the time. Everything happens for a reason. Well, modern science is suggesting a lot of things don't happen for reasons. In fact, there's a lot of science today that people have no idea how things happen. The more I read about quantum physics, nobody's sure how it works. Nobody's sure how many universes we have. Nobody's sure about a lot of stuff. You ought to read the latest stuff on astrology, and you're going to find people have no idea how some things happen. Things just happen randomly. And that upsets us because you and I are in a society that likes to have all the I's dotted and all the T's crossed. And that's the way it is. And so this idea of randomness and fate gets us annoyed. I don't know about you. I'm still thinking about March, the second and third week in March when school closed down, and bingo, we were online. We were Zooming and doing all this stuff just like that. All Souls goes from the JCC, where it had been for years and years and years, to Zoom, and everything got turned upside down, and the phrase was the new normal. Now, I keep on mentioning this because I still haven't worked this through. March was not long ago. How many months was March? Middle of March to April, middle of April to May, middle of May to June, middle of June to July, middle of July to August. We're going 6 months. It's like 10 years ago. Am I right? I mean, seriously, it's like 10 years ago. Oh, 6 months. So all this stuff is out there. Then I'm reading on top of all this, a lot of people are now saying, you know, this being at home has turned out to be kind of cool. This being at home has I'm discovering things about the house I didn't know. I'm discovering all kinds of time about how I'm using time that wasn't good. And I kind of like doing new stuff. And people are finding new routines, and they're also finding routines that they were doing that they got so used to doing, they realized that some of the stuff was toxic. Now, I'll give you an example. I've read about this more times than I can imagine. The number of people that would commute an hour and a half to work one way, go to work, and then an hour and a half work back. And this happened all over the country. And, you know, you got used to this because you had to do it. But when you start thinking about it, you work from home and wow, all that hour and a half, that's 3 hours of stress, driving, and all the rest of that. Whoa. And you find you didn't miss it at all. Not at all. And you found that you're finding time. You're rediscovering yourself. Who knew that I had these feelings about this, that, and everything else? Somebody sit down. People are learning to cook. Oh, mercy me. And I'm looking at this stuff and I'm thinking, okay. And then something happened this week, which threw me completely again. I'm now back in the same routine I had last fall. It's been a year since I had that routine. And I thought, oh my heavens, finally a return to something, but this time I appreciated it. I've had this routine forever, took it for granted. Now I find I like being in class or in the office from 7:30 to 9:15. I teach till 12:15 or 12:30, and then the rest of the afternoon is quiet time, nap time, reading time. And I tell my students, I'm there for you 5 days a week, and that's it. I'm only an adjunct. Emergencies only on the weekend. And I give them some examples of what emergencies are not. And I find I liked routine, but I never appreciated it. So some people are now appreciating routines they had. Some people are finding routines that they were going through were really toxic and bad, and everything's upside down, everything. Which brings me to an article I read a year and a half ago. Sometimes I read articles and I'm thinking, you know, there will be a time and a place for this. I'm not sure when the time and the place will come, but there will be a time and a place. So I saved this article by David Brooks from the New York Times, and it was about meritocracy. And his idea goes something like this. There are two mountains. He said one mountain, and this will strike all of you right off the bat. You go to school, and some of you will go to more school, You'll learn to find a job, a work that you've trained for. Some of you will have a partner or a spouse. Some of you will have several partners and several spouses. Some of you will then have a house or an apartment, but you follow a routine. It's understood you'll go to school. Once you leave school, whatever the school kind of schooling that may be, you'll get a job. You'll settle down with a partner or another partner, or serial partners or spouses. You'll work, you'll get on the grindstone, you'll suck it up, and you'll spend a lot of time, according to David Brooks, in reputation management, making sure your reputation is good. Spend a lot of time on that, reputation management. And somewhere along the line, you may achieve salvation by finding a dog. Those of you that have dogs will find therein lies extra salvation. And I have put down here in my notes, okay, be kind, a cat. Cats, all right. The idea is, on that first mountain, you have meritocracy. Do, put yourself up. It comes from accumulating work, accumulating merits, accumulating good interpretation. It takes a lot of time. And Rowena, I can't believe you put a cat there. Ay. All right, so merits, climb that mountain, succeed, whatever that may mean, and spend a lot of time on reputation management. Then, do any of you remember the old show, Laugh-In? Does anybody remember that? Well, Nick is going no. Ray is going no. Oscar's going no. This is because this is way before most of you were born. That's embarrassing. All right. In this, they had an award. Rory Feeny even remembers it. Heavens. All right. Are you ready for this? The Foul, Fickle Finger of Fate. Does anybody remember that award? Yes, the Foul, Fickle Finger of Fate. Ha! Well, guess what? It happens. Time and chance happen to them all. This really extraordinary voice, extraordinary and extraordinarily annoying verse. Again, I saw under the sun, the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, etc., but time and chance happen to them all. And it happens. You get on that mountain. You're climbing up the mountain to success, reputation, management, all that meritocracy, and the foul, fickle finger of fate hits. And it hits everybody. Somehow, it happens. You're falling off the mountain. You're failing. Your identity that you work so hard for is, I can't use phrases that we use regularly. I'll just say your identity is now in tatters. There is tragedy everywhere, and nothing is going according to plan. Now, I know most of you well, and I can honestly say everybody's been here. When you've been failing, things have not gone to plan, careers were screwed up, all kinds of things happened, and you failed. And I remember when I gave the last lecture, what was the very first thing I did in my last lecture at FIU? I talked about the importance of failure. How absolutely essential failure is. But it doesn't feel like it's essential when you're failing. When you're in the act of failing, it doesn't feel like it's essential. It doesn't feel very good at all, in fact. And, you know, when you have careers go down the drain, and this is not me speaking loftily from the pulpit, let me remind everybody that my first career failed. Oh, it was a splendid failure. Absolutely disastrous. Here I was in a congregation that when I began was 6,008th in attendance, and when I left it was 78th. And it went from one service to 3 services, an average attendance of 400 on Sunday morning. And I had to leave because of alcohol and alcohol behavior. And when I left, there was nothing. Absolutely nothing. Now, I'm not blaming, this was on me, by the way. This is not out there blaming everybody else. No, it was on me. I take full responsibility for that. And this is called FIPS. Have you ever heard the phrase FIPS? Formerly important people or formerly important persons. This applies to people who are famous and they retire and nobody even remembers who they were a week later. When you fail at being big, and a week later, nobody remembers who you are except for the failure. Formerly important persons, FIPS. And so everybody I know has been a FIP in something. You may have failed in marriage. You may have had disease issues, may have had family issues. By the way, everybody I know who has kids has had kid issues. Everybody has had kid issues. It seems to be, I think we tried to do everything we could, and you can still, we saw a movie last night. You guys might want to see this. This is a riot. It's called Otherhood. Listen to the premise of this. 3 women that are now in their mid-50s. It's Mother's Day, and not one of their sons has called to say Happy Mother's Day. Now listen to this. So they decide to leave Poughkeepsie on the spur of the moment and go downtown into New York City to visit their sons on the spur of the moment. Can you imagine 3 women in their 50s, unannounced, arrive at their various sons' apartments in New York City unannounced? Oh, mercy me. It was, name the disasters that came from this. I mean, you sat there and you looked at this and you go, oh my, the disasters were magnificent. And one of the mothers said, the issue has been, we raised our kids to be independent thinking, to think for themselves, to stand on their own feet. They don't need anybody. Thank you very much. So what do the kids do when they grow up? They're independent. They're strong thinking. They don't need anybody very much. They can do it. Thank you. Boom. Where's the love? Life goes on like this. Name an issue. Jobs, spouses, relationships, name it all. We've all climbed the mountain. And if you ever notice, when you fall off the mountain, it goes quickly. You just don't go like boom to boom. You bam, 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 boom. You're not only not on the mountaintop anymore, you're not even on the mountain. Dave Brooks says you're in the valley. Well, here's a phrase he came up with, which I thought was a riot: the basement of your soul. Ha! Have you ever heard that phrase, the basement of your soul? And that happens. I remember when I left Port Orange, I left and I did not have to do this. I did this voluntarily. I went off to Camp Happy. Well, it wasn't happy, but I called it that. I went off to rehab. I went off to the famous Talbot Marsh Recovery Center in Atlanta, where all the doctors go. In fact, my vet and I are 2 alumni of Camp Happy, and we're the only ones sober in our whole group. And we've been sober now for more than a quarter of a century. But going off to Camp Happy, that was just lovely too. Book says, your soul's basement is deeper than you think. And he says, when you're in the valley of despair and failure and it's all gone wrong and fate has really done a job on you, there are 2 things that can help you out. 2. One is your spirituality. Each person here looking at me has a spirituality. Mary Grimmy, who I've known forever, meets with Quaker meetings from time to time and reads. Others of you watch things and read things. Think about things. You wouldn't be spiritual if you're here. You obviously have a spirituality to you and a spiritual journey. You wouldn't be taking time out on a Sunday morning, especially down here where it's pouring, or and up in New York, where you can think of 1,000 things to do on Sunday morning. Obviously, you have a spirituality and a seekingness to you and a need to you and a need to find some strength, else you wouldn't be here. Spirituality is essential. And here's the other thing which I too often forget, and I'm like you. Maybe we take for granted the love of family and friends. Who helps you pack up your sorrows? I remember my mother used to tell me, if you have 2 or 3 good friends in the world, you can count yourself lucky. I think she was right. When I went off to Camp Happy, I got a couple of cards from a couple of friends regularly. The other friends I had, when I fell off the mountain, well, guess what? I suddenly didn't exist. But I had a couple of friends. And I was overwhelmed that people would remember me. Overwhelmed. And I think too often we forget to nurture our friends and close friends and family because we get caught up in being busy. Maria has a fabulous son, JP. It suddenly dawned on me, I don't spend enough time with JP because I'm too busy. So I called him last night and apologized. I said, I owe you a mighty amends. You're a great guy. You and your wife are a great couple. You're fabulous. And I got so caught up in being busy, I have not done right by you, and I apologize. And you know, we get caught up in stuff. And I'll tell you something, when the stuff hits bad, who are the people who are going to help you out? Your family and your friends. If you neglect your friends, what do you have left? So I think Brooks is right. Your spirituality, your family, and your friends. And that's it. I had a religious experience at Camp Happy. I've mentioned this before. It was at 1:30 in the morning after I got everybody to watch Beavis and Butthead do Christmas Eve. It was Christmas morning at 1:30 and I had an experience, but an hour and a half before we watched Beavis and Butthead do Christmas Eve, the few of us that were in rehab, everybody else got to go home, and there I was sitting by myself in a very cold room in Atlanta, in a single bed. Everybody in my pod had gone home, and there was just me. Man, you want to talk about being isolated and lonely in a cold room in Atlanta, not knowing anybody. And there you sit and you realize you're here because you did it, you screwed up, and you didn't nurture and you didn't take care of your spirituality and friends as well. Not a great time. And I suspect everybody I'm talking to has had not great times. Everybody here. Because I know all of you, and I know you've all had not great times. And I know all of you, and I know what got you out of it. Family and a couple of friends. And we need to lift that up. We need to lift that up because fate happens. Everything we have planned goes out the window. Disease happens, tragedies happen, things that we can't plan on. And so it's our friends and it's our spiritual path that takes us there. I understand atheism. Intellectually, I understand it extraordinarily well. I understand agnosticism. But that thing that happened to me at Camp Happy, that religious experience, told me that there are too often experiences in life that happen to us that are there to give us that spirituality, but we block them out because we're too busy. Well, when you're sitting there at 1:30 in the morning and nobody's around and you're freezing and you're all alone, you can't block much out. It's like being in the desert. There's nothing around, folks. You can't block it out. And I suspect there's all kinds of things around everyone here this morning that is just there waiting to fill you. But we block things out. And for those of you this week who discovered something new, who discovered something you hadn't thought about, who went through life and say, an aha moment, it makes it all worth living. Now, I have to agree with Brooks that when things go bad, things happen, we get sick, we get near-death experiences, friends of ours die, young and old, there is a time that we have to be quiet. We have to have solitude. And if nothing else, going to Camp Happy taught me that. I am not a quiet person, as everybody knows, but being off into rehab for 3 months, and thank God it was voluntary, was kind of a wake-up call for your desert experience, Kenneth. And a lot of you have shared with me quiet times that you have regularly. A lot of you have. When you take time out, take time to replenish yourself. So there are kinds of two mountains. There's a mountain where we do. We fall off the mountain, everybody. And then you have a chance to find out who you really are. And then you go to the second mountain. And this mountain is not about doing. It's not about quantity. It's about giving. The second mountain is about quality of things. It means we become more sensitive because of the stuff we have faced. I have found that when I was in rehab, some things about me that I was in denial. I found out that I am far more sensitive than I realized. I found out that I'm far more vulnerable than I realized. And I found out there are anxieties that I was scared of to face up to. My suspicion is what I found out is true for everybody. I bet you everybody is more sensitive than they realize, more vulnerable than they realize, and I bet you everybody here has anxieties that drive them up the wall. In short, I got reacquainted not only with myself, but with everybody else. And so when we've had that mountain that we've fallen off of, we have a chance to become in tune with ourselves, who we really are, and how we can be better at loving others and loving ourselves. And when we do that, when we face another bad experience, we have things to really help us that we'll pay attention to. So yes, bad things happen, fate happens, but we've got spirituality and love of friends and love of family. And I hope that this message resolves with us. We've still got a very deadly virus. We've got a flu season, and we have a lot of uncertainty. Let us grasp the spiritual path, and let us hold our loved ones and friends a little bit more and a little closer. Amen. And Oscar, if you would.
Ken, thank you. This, I never know exactly what to play after your shares because they're always so powerful. This is the oldest known Greek song, and the words are there. I posted on the chat. It's called the Song of Seikidos, and it goes like this. It's short. It's short. Sound okay? 2,500 years old.
Wow. Wow. Our prayers and thoughts for others, if you would join me. For the poor and the unfortunate, for the sick and the suffering, for the tempted and bereaved, for the forgotten and lonely, let us offer a prayer and a thought this day and every day. May it be so. Amen. A time of quiet. And Oscar, if you would.
That is the All Souls theme. That is literally ALLSOULS.
Play it one more time, Oscar.
So A-L-L-A-O-U. My spelling is off, but I promise you these are the notes. That's the All Souls theme.
Okay.
That was composed by itself. I didn't write that out.
Okay. Now what you're going to do is expand on that and have some fun with it.
Okay.
Make it
Now
our
for
thing.
the next time.
We have always, when we gather from the very, very beginning, as you notice, we now have started our 15th year. Our 15th year, and from the very, very beginning, we always offered a simple bread and cup, not as a great holy mystery, but as an act of ancient fellowship. Jesus used this, but he got it from those before him. And so we simply take bread, simple matzah, if you will, unleavened bread, and we break it and offer for anyone who wish. We take a common cup, and we ask people, as they did back in the time, to simply take bread and dip into the cup and eat. And then we would all come forward together and hold hands. And I'm sure many of you remember the following. Repeat after me. Promise me you'll remember.
Promise me you'll remember.
You are braver than you believe,
You are braver than you believe.
stronger than you seem,
Stronger than you seem.
and smarter than you think.
Smarter than you think.
God didn't promise
God didn't promise
days without pain,
days without pain,
sun without rain,
sun without rain,
laughter without sorrows.
laughter without sorrow.
But the divine did promise
The divine did promise
strength for the
divine did
day,
promise strength,
comfort for the tears,
comfort for the tears,
and light for the way.
and light for the way.
Light for the way.
Now, before we end, we have our famous ritual of dealing with the kinds of things that bother us to know. And we want to be sure before you leave, we do two things. Does anybody have a black chip they need to hold up and say they're returning? You may have a black chip they're holding up and returning. Oscar's returning one. Maureen's returning one. Okay. Margarita's returning one. Serge is returning.
I'm not returning it, I'm keeping it.
Oh, okay. Well, wait, we're getting to that. We're getting to that. All right. For those of you that have issues that you need to work on, hold it up. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, yes. Never put the bread down. All right. That's it. That's all we've got. 1, 2, that's it. Aye.
That's more than usual. That's like
All right. You know your job.
Oh,
Next class. Next time we get together, we We want to be sure that we hold them up if you resolved your issues. And Kim, you got yours all the way. I sent them to you. You got them. All right. The famous black chip. We're going to conclude with our concluding prayer, and then Oscar's going to lead us in the final hymn, and we'll sing it the best we can at home, and then we'll have our benediction. May the blessings of God be upon us in this hour and in the days to come, that we may seek the truth more devotedly, that we may think more independently, that we may reflect more searchingly, that we may know ourselves more completely, that we may forgive more quickly, we may pray more thoughtfully, we may act more courageously, we may live more nobly. And we'll now have our final prayer, our final song, for those of you who can sing it. And Margarita has it. And Nick, if you would play through it once. Combining an Irish and Hindu blessing. May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rains fall softly upon your fields. And when we meet again, may the divine in me greet the divine in you. Amen. Now, before we leave, let's be sure to say hello to one another. Let's go around again. Hello, Melissa and Mary Grimmy and Ed and Pat and Serge and Rowena and Rick and Judy and Oscar and Ray and Maureen and Nick and Karen.
Hi, everyone.
And Laurie and Joyce and Rory and his family, Hal and Linda, Kim and Dennis. And Maria says hi too. Have a safe week. There'll be a midweek check-in. Send pictures. Let us know what you're up to. Pictures of dogs are always welcome. And a cat too, Rowena, are always welcome.
We've got two more.
Two more what, cats?
Yeah, we've got 3 cats, 4 dogs.
Jeez.
And they all get on with each other, except for the cats.
That's pretty
Oh, see if you can get a picture of the 3 cats. We'll honor them.
I'll do better. I'll do cats and dogs and send you pictures.
Oh, wow. All right. Thank you all much for being here today. And our next service is going to be really annoying. It's on harmony.
Yeah.
We've got Louis Armstrong with Wonderful World.
Yes.
And Susie Q with Harmony. All right, everybody.
Susie Q.
All right.
I'm gonna pick all.
Bye, stay safe.
Music. Thank you.
Thanks.